On you go.
Right, let's go.
Hello, everyone. We're back with another episode of the MonBlues podcast. This week, we're joined by Paul Williams, one of the best referees in the world. Hello, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, especially after that welcome. I appreciate it.
So, Paul, we'll start off. How did rugby start for you? Did you play before you came into refereeing? Or
Oh, hey, look, I'm a New Zealand kid, and just about every kid, boy or girl, growing up wanted to play rugby. I would imagine. So it was certainly no different for me. I'm pretty sure the first thing I got hands on when I came straight out of the womb wasn't my mother's breast; it was a rugby ball. I played from a very, very young age, right up to when I was 27. And I was overseas playing in a club called York, actually, up in the Yorkshire area. You probably know it. And I was over there playing a little bit of rugby and mainly just doing a bit of sightseeing, to be honest.
Yeah, lovely. Beautiful.
Yeah, magic. And anyway, I came home in 2011, and it was the same year as the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. And every man and his dog in New Zealand wanted to be a part of the World Cup. Obviously, it's the pinnacle of our sporting event, and I came home and I actually volunteered for a role for it was a team liaison officer. So I thought, what better job to be cruising around with an international side for a couple of months? That'd be a dream. So anyway, went to the interview, and the guy who ended up interviewing me was a guy by the name of Ray Hopkins, who was the local referee president. And we got talking after the interview. And he said to me, because he knew my background of playing rugby, and he said to me, "Have you ever considered refereeing?" And like my immediate reaction was, absolutely not. There is no way have I ever for one second thought about refereeing a game of rugby, because I was that yappy little halfback who used to give absolutely heaps to referees. So I thought, there's no way you're going to turn the table on me, mate. But before I spoke, I thought about it, and I thought, well, you know what? If I say yes, this might help me in terms of getting this right. So I said to him, you know what? I have thought about it, and maybe I will give it a go. As it turned out, I didn't get the job for the 2011 World Cup, but I did become a referee. So look who's laughing now.
Yeah. It's amazing. Referees get away with murder because you say it with confidence. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, dead right. I do it at home here with the wife as well.
Say
it with confidence, and it's believable.
Yeah,
but she can read between the lines. She can work me out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then, so what have you done in your life except playing rugby? Have you had any other jobs, or has it been rugby pretty non-stop?
Yeah. No, believe it or not, I have had a couple of other jobs. So straight out of university, I studied Bachelor of Sport Business Management, and I don't know, I guess myself, like a lot of people, when they get out of university, they've got these qualifications, but they've got no idea what to do with them. I certainly had no idea. I wasn't quite ready to dive straight into the workforce. So that's actually when I put my name on a rugby recruitment website. So I just, you put your profile on. Like I'm by no means a professional rugby player. I don't attest to that at all. I was just your run-of-the-mill standard club rugby player. But I thought, hey, look, what an opportunity to go and see the world, put it on the site, see what happens. And I vividly remember I was sitting in my flat down in Palmerston North, where I went to university, and I was coming to the end of my degree. Only had a couple of papers to go, and I got a phone call from it was actually when I saw the number come across my phone, it had about 300 digits, and I was like, what the hell is this? This has got to be a prank. So I sheepishly answered it, and it was a guy with an English accent, and he said he'd seen my profile online and asked if I'd wanted to come over and have a bit of rugby over there. So it was actually for a club in Huddersfield originally. So I said to the guy, hey, look, I'm real keen to come over. I've also got two mates that are real keen to come. And so long story short, we all went over there on a bit of a Yahoo trip. Ended up playing rugby for Huddersfield. It didn't work out there, unfortunately, and myself and one of the other guys, we got picked up by York and had an absolute blast. It was just a a great place, great environment. The people are incredibly friendly, and yeah, I'd go back in the heartbeat. It reminds me a lot of home, because of the warmth of the people. I think I don't want to offend anyone who lives down in the south, but I think the further north you go, the better the people seem to get. Obviously, you get as far north as you guys, bloody good lads. So yeah, I was playing rugby over here, but when I went back home, I actually picked up a job working for our local sports body, Sports Taranaki. So I'm from the region Taranaki here. So I was working as a regional development operator there, so doing a lot of work in clubs and schools and those sorts of things. And I loved that job because it was very hands-on. I got to be out in the community, meeting the people, working in schools, working with kids. It was a fantastic job. The role slightly changed, meant I spent more time with my feet under the desk, which I'm not a fan of. I need to be out there doing it. And then I went teaching. I went primary school teaching. So while I was getting my qualifications for that, I actually started up a small health and fitness business just to generate a little bit of income on the side. And at the same time that was happening, I was making the decision around going for the 2011 volunteers role. So then all of a sudden, refereeing had taken off, teaching had taken off, and the small business was taking off. So it became a bit of a juggling act with all these balls in the air. And unfortunately, I had to let the teaching go. And I kept going with the business because that created the opportunity and the flexibility of time for me to chase the dream of refereeing. And then the more invested I got into refereeing, it then became a full-time role. I then parked my health and fitness business because I literally couldn't be in two places at once. So at the moment, full-time referee, part-time dad, and loving it. So, but hey, with the way things are at the moment with COVID and border restrictions and things like that, I'm going to be spending a much more amount of time at home. I'm not too sure if my wife is happy or not about that, but
yeah, she's got more kids to look after now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was just saying to someone today, like the weekends are almost like our escape, isn't it?
Yeah.
We kind of look forward to the weekend, wherever it may be, whether it's club rugby, whether it's down to watch a game, whether it be traveling to the other side of the world. Like we look forward to those trips or that time away. But with COVID, it's like looking forward to the weekend, but it's the same. So we're obviously pretty excited about rugby restarting here in New Zealand, that's for sure. But back to your original question, mate, those are the jobs I've had. But now rugby is the full-time job. Yeah.
Yeah, and then talking about rugby, starting again in New Zealand, are you looking forward to the different format of rugby back in New Zealand?
It's gonna be interesting. It's really going to be interesting. I guess there's a bit of a as referees talk, especially within the Sands group of referees, we really look forward to those New Zealand derbies because we know they're high tempo, high skill level, very exciting. Whereas sometimes, and no disrespect to some of the games you get in Australia, but those Aussie derbies can be quite niggly, tough matches. But I mean, and saying that, that's probably where you get your best learning from as a referee, you know. Whereas the luxury sometimes of refereeing a New Zealand game is on the odd occasion you get to sort of kick back the armchair and just watch this great game roll out in front of you. So there's certainly a lot of excitement about that. I was just away in the Chiefs camp today, doing a little bit of work with them around some tweaks that have been made around the breakdown and space, where essentially we as a group of referees are pulling up our socks and we're actually refereing the law because over
God forbid that should happen.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit mind-blowing, to be honest. And they're talking about all these changes, and I'm like, well, they're not actually changes. That's law. We've actually just got to referee them a bit better.
My son asked me about it. Sorry, Paul. My son asked me about the laws that were coming out. He's a big rugby man. He played in Australia, and he said to me, "What do you think of all these new laws?" I said, "I've been refereeing like that for 10 years. That's been the laws in Scotland. We've tried to kill the game in Scotland though, in rucks and that sort of stuff. By blowing penalties really early. Nah, no excitement. Slow it down. Stop the game."
and that's the danger sometimes. I think perhaps we get caught up in this mindset of we need to create or add to the spectacle by sort of letting the game flow, and we don't want to intervene there, and just whereas I think we've probably let it go too far now, and we're in catch-up mode. So yeah, in these next 10 weeks of Super Rugby Aotearoa here in New Zealand, we've got a real good opportunity to actually sort of pull the reins back in a little bit again and get a little bit more clarity around the breakdown, because the grey is getting more grey, unfortunately. So yeah, like I say, hopefully we can see a change.
Yeah, it'd be good.
No pressure.
Look forward to it, actually. But there's some really good ones. A question, the red card one, I don't know about that. That's a bit troubling. We've had a small discussion about that up in Scotland with a group of friends of mine, and it's real. Come on, a red card's a red card, and somebody's got to take one for the team. There's a lot of stuff. It'll be interesting to see how it develops and what happens for rugby connoisseurs, which we all are. Sorry, Muzz.
It's a real. Sorry, it is a real interesting one. The red card. I guess I can see both sides of the argument. I guess for me, when you get a real act of thuggery, a real act of foul play, I mean that absolutely needs to be dealt with. I guess what we're trying to avoid is one person ruining the entire spectacle for the players on the field, those sitting in the stand, and everyone at home watching on TVs, major stakeholders, those sorts of things, because we all know you get a red card in the game and it has a massive, massive impact. So I guess we're taking it away from one person having an impact on all of that, So, hey, look, 20 minutes is still a reasonable chunk of time, and it'll be interesting to see what teams do in that 20 minutes.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, hey, look, and it's a trial at this stage. It'll be interesting to see how it goes, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hey, look, in the perfect world, we won't get any red cards, and we won't entertain thought. Yeah.
No game for thugs anymore, right? Hence the reason I took up refereeing, and your dad stopped playing Muzzy.
And then some of the big news that was coming out in New Zealand yesterday was Dan Carter's going back to the Blues, to link up with Bowden Barrett. What do you think of that?
Unbelievable. Yeah, that really caught me by surprise. Generally being in rugby circles, I guess you sort of get wind of these things, or might hear a little bit of information through the grapevine. Absolutely nothing. The first I heard of it was when it was announced on the news, 6 o'clock news, and I thought, hang on, what date? It's definitely not April the 1st today. That absolutely blew my mind. It'll be interesting to see how much game time he actually gets as an injury cover. It'll be great to see him on the field. I think it'll just add to this sort of spectacle of the 10-week Super Rugby Aotearoa. And I mean, he's a fantastic bloke. I mean, he's done a hell of a lot for the game already. So the fact that he's able to come back and contribute some more is bloody brilliant. So all of a sudden the Blues were looking like. Well, previously, Blues were looking like a team that were probably the weakest in New Zealand, and you look at what they've got now and the confidence that they've got, and gee whiz, anything could happen with them. It's exciting.
Just wondering how funny it would be if he gets the first red card.
It'll make headlines, that's for sure, mate.
A little bit.
Yeah, we were talking about it today. Actually, I feel sorry for the first referee out of the blocks.
Imagine, oh man. Nothing worse.
Poor bugger.
Yeah. I want a yard that week.
Bugger, I forgot the cards. Anyway, great one.
And then coming out of rugby in New Zealand and coming across to one of your, probably one of the best games that's ever been played in rugby union was the Scotland-England game that you refereed at Twickenham a few years ago. Just what did you think of that? Was it a bit surreal?
Well, you say I refereed it. I was there, and I was watching players run around.
Oh man!
I think I blew the whistle a couple of times, but generally it was just to award tries. It was absolutely bizarre, and I think it was probably a really good it was a really good sort of wake up call for me. Like all the preparation I'd done around that game was. Shit, this is Calcutta Cup. This is going to be gnarly. This is Six Nations. They're not massive scoring games. Like this could come down to a penalty. And all of a sudden, I walk into the shed at half time, and England are ahead by 35 or 36 to zip.
Yeah.
And I'm
Something
thinking,
like that,
well, this is a blow. And it's strange because you actually, as a referee, you actually enjoy those games where you need to work hard, you need to think, you need to be. You don't really want the armchair eyes. Like, yeah, sure, like it's great being involved in the games that actually absolutely take off and lots of tries and all the rest of it. But in terms of actually real growth and learning, you don't get a lot from those games. But to be a part of it and to see the way that Scotland came out of the sheds and absolutely turned that game on its head, like I was obviously running around with my stern concentration face on as a referee, but inside of me, I was just like, what is going on here? So no, it was fantastic. But to go to obviously be a part of that and to have it, just the atmosphere alone, and it was just a brilliant game to be involved with. And coming off the field and going into the aftermatch dinner and talking with a couple of the old boys of the England camp and the Scotland camp, and they're there with their big blazers on and ties and bellies out here and points resting on top of them and saying, oh, it's the greatest game they've ever seen in Six Nations. It's like, wow, that's saying something, you know? So yeah, it'll certainly be one that I will never ever forget. I'll be taking that one to my grave. Absolutely.
And the two defensive coaches got sacked the week after, I think. So.
Yeah, defence was definitely optional in that game.
Touch.
Yeah.
And then some people in the stands were paying hundreds and hundreds of pounds to get seats for the game. And would you say you had one of the best seats in the house to watch it?
Like going to watch a Six Nations game is very, very special. Like that's something that my colleague Ben O'Keefe and I talk about quite a bit. Like there's something very, very special and very unique about the Six Nations tournament. Like, don't get me wrong, and that's taking nothing away from rugby championships or anything like that, but just watching and looking, and you can almost feel the hype. It's hard to explain, but when you're standing down there and listening to anthems and looking at people in the crowd and seeing the emotion in their faces and everything that goes with it, it just sends tingles down your spine. Honestly, it's unbelievable. So
do you get a shock at the away support? Obviously, I'm a Welsh man living in Scotland and that, and I go to Murrayfield and I go to the Principality, and I've been to Murrayfield when there's possibly been as many, if not more, Welsh people in the crowd than there is Scottish. You know, that's probably quite straight. And we're not travelling the distance of the Sanzars and that sort of stuff, but that must be quite unusual for you guys to see, is it?
Well, it is, because I mean, when you look at the crowds in Super Rugby at the moment, we get 200-300. If we're like, you know,
I think
not
the
a big
stuff that they're doing in the NRL might come into Super Rugby.
Yeah, you buy a ticket, but you get this cardboard cutout that you need to bring with you and stick next to you.
Stick it there, right? Stick it there. Watch it get with the bar.
So while we get brilliant games of rugby and Super Rugby, we don't get the same sort of level of atmosphere and that sort of the cauldron kind of feel, I guess. So yeah, to see the faces in the stand, like that's one thing. Like being at a game like that, you can see how much it means for someone, man, woman, child, whoever. It means so much to them, and like being there for them is everything. Whereas I get a different experience on a different level. To be down there shoulder to shoulder for anthems, seeing the passion in the players, and then being so close to the action, like with the hits right in front of you. Like sometimes they're so close, and I get so close. It's like, you're almost feeling it. And there's been times too where I have actually literally felt it because I've been in the wrong place. But no, it is. It's a cliche, best seat in the house, but there's absolutely no other word for it. It literally is the best seat in the house.
Correct.
Yeah. And then from the armchair ride at Twickenham, it was a bit harder a game at Murrayfield this year for Scotland France.
Well, it actually It was confusing because I'm sure it said Murrayfield on the program, but at times I thought I was at the Stade de France.
Yeah.
There were that many French spectators there, which again, like you were saying before, Corgi, like there's a real healthy mix of both lots of supporters there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough game. It was an arm wrestle, that one. But I mean, like I said before, those are the games that we get up and do what we do for. Those are the ones where you get your growth. Those are the ones that you get your learning from. Yeah, I mean, great having a guy like Barnesy on the sideline. He's been around the traps a fair few times and back again. So to have his level of experience there and calming nature, it's really bloody good. So yeah, again, like I'll never forget that game for certain reasons as well. Obviously the Richie Gray punch and the yellow card. Just the way the game was played it was really controlled from start to finish by Scotland. And I don't know. I guess I know. Perhaps I mean I'm no coach. I'm no sort of crystal ball gaze or anything like that. But perhaps there was a little bit of complacency that crept in with France after their amazing start that they'd had. They may have thought they were going to go up there, get the points, and go home again. I'm not too sure, but I mean that's what's so exciting about a game. Like a lot of people may have written Scotland off the way France were going, but because rugby's that kind of game, anything can happen, and anything did happen. So. Yeah, fantastic game, fantastic stadium, one of my favourites by far. Great hospitality, and I'm not just saying that because you guys are on the line. Like, I really, really love my trips up north, the proper north.
That's right.
And then something that you like to speak about is the difference between being positive and negative in your mind in terms of refereeing. What would you say the difference? What's the difference in something being positive and negative for you?
You'll have to go into a little bit more depth of that question, mate, because that is wide open. I could talk for hours on that one.
So can we address the breakdown then when it comes to that? You know, positive play at the breakdown, which again you can go on for weeks about. But do you? And what I'm trying to think about here is the new person coming in the referee and maybe referees by the law book and the law book only. So if somebody goes off their feet, the breakdown, then it's immediately their hands up in the air and that sort of stuff. Is there a place for positive? Yeah. You know, can you identify positive and negative play and that sort of stuff and work with it?
Oh, I think you're dead right, and I think certainly I've been refereeing a little while now, but nowhere near as long as what a lot of the international guys are that I referee with. And like I think the ability to have an awareness and understanding of the game is vital in terms of making good decisions, particularly at the breakdown, if we're going to talk about that in particular. Because knowing the law book is one thing, but knowing how to apply the law and then knowing how to understand the game and apply the law are completely different things. Because let's be honest, we could approach every breakdown and see 2 or 3 infringements that we could blow a whistle for. And I'm sure many of people have said this exactly what I'm about to say now, but it's having that understanding of what has relevance and what doesn't. And that's the real clincher for me. Like it's almost like you talk about negative and positive. It's almost like you need to actually try and get inside the players' heads and understand what they are trying to do. But it even goes a step further than that. You almost have to anticipate what they are about to think. So we as referees, I think, can get guilty of becoming quite reactive. We see something, it doesn't look right, bang, it's a penalty. Versus we see something, it doesn't look right. However, it doesn't look right because of X, Y, and Z. And X, Y and the Z have led to the fact that it doesn't look right. And you know what? Sometimes people make mistakes, but they're not intentional mistakes. So it's. I mean, we talk about game feel and understanding and all the rest of it. And some people have got it. Some people don't. Some people have the ability to learn it. Some people don't. And that really comes down to a mindset thing. And I think the first thing there is, and I was guilty of this for sure, like because I guess I had quite a rapid rise into international rugby. It all came a lot quicker than what I thought it would, and unfortunately, probably started reading my own press a little bit. Probably thought I was a little bit better than what I was, and it's a danger. You see it with professional rugby players often. These young blokes get handed these contracts because they've been setting the world on fire at a lower level. They get thrown in the deep end and they don't swim, or they get found out. So, I went on we're digging into the archives now a little bit, but about three or 4 years ago, I was watching a game. It was a game of Super Rugby that I did over in Argentina. And I remember looking at a particular thing that happened in a game and some dialogue between myself and the captain. And I looked at it and I was like, who is this jumped up little prick of a referee? And it's like, you know what? It's the old hold the mirror up in front of the face type thing and take a good hard look.
Yeah.
And it was from there I probably started turning the corner a little bit and rather looking outwardly at going to the next level, or getting the next game, or whatever it may be. It was actually like, far out, just enjoy what you've got, make the most of it, embrace the journey of what we're doing, and just be content and happy with that. I was in such a hurry to sort of get there. I was just forgetting about this awesome journey that I was on, you know. And unfortunately, I was so heavily invested at reaching the top and being the best I absolutely could be, and all the rest of it. I was actually neglecting like some really close relationships that were very, very important to me. Close friends, family, that sort of thing, because I put rugby on this ridiculously high pedestal, and I had 6 German shepherds patrolling the bottom of it, like no one come near this pedestal and touch rugby at the top. It just became ridiculous. And when I had this sort of, I guess, monumental penny drop moment when I was looking at myself refereeing, I was like, that's not me. That's not Paul Williams, and that's certainly not who I want to be. Unfortunately, fortunately, however way you want to look at it, like I certainly don't regret going through that period of my refereeing career, because that's what's got me to where I am now. Had I not seen that myself, I may not be sitting here right now talking to you, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and then Corgi, would you like to go with the bags now?
Oh, mate. Here it comes. Here it comes. I don't know. I'd imagine it has, but I don't know if the reputation of the bags made its way down to New Zealand yet. I'm sure there's something there, but there you go. Kikori Rugby and Corgi George, just to prove it's mine. I haven't nicked it. I haven't nicked it, I promise you.
So it'd be a bit embarrassing if you were pulling things out of someone else's bag.
You know me, mate. You know me. Yeah. So I've got a number of objects in the bag here. Oh, yeah. That I'd like you to sort of say the first name that comes into your head when I produce the object. And I imagine it'll be a referee. It could be a player that you know really, really well. But we'll start off with a nice, easy one, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
There is such a thing, mate.
I'm terrified.
And so you should be. No, mate. Really easy one. So we've got some tape. I was going to use K-tape, but I played a game this season, so I used all that. So, you know, which referee annoys the physios and is always on the table and wanting a rub and puts the tape on because they're knackered? You know, who's the guy that...
Oh, gee. There are so many people that are springing to mind right now. I'd go Jerome Garcias.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would. And particularly during the World Cup, he was held together by a few bits of sticky tape. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that.
Well, he watches this. I know he watches this. You know, he's so Jerome, I wondered if you would say Nut Brown, obviously, because Nut Brown played quite physically.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he manages as a ref. He's a complete hypocrite, if you ask me. Cool, mate. Cool. Well, that's a good one. I like that one. Okay, then. So, I've got in the bag now. I've got a mobile phone, mate. Who is forever on social media? Which one of the refs?
hang on a sec? Can we just maybe put all of the international sevens referees in?
Oh,
in that,
well, we had them on here. Eh? We had Holly and here, and it's
gee,
talk this and
I'm good.
Instagram that, and
I'm good mates. I'm good mates with a few of them, and I follow them on Instagram. And I'll be honest, I'm the first one who's as jealous as hell as the trips they go on and
don't
things
do bad,
they do.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But what happens is someone will take a photo of the group standing in front of a waterfall, or they'll be up a mountain or doing something non-rugby related. It looks like they're on holiday.
Tough life,
And then it'll be shared on someone else's page, someone else's page, and someone else's page. So I'll be going through the Instagram news feed and get this mountain about 7 times in a row. It's like, thanks, guys. I know where you are. You're up a mountain. Cheers.
Ting, 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 ting.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's just my jealousy shining through, mate. I wish I was a sevens referee traveling the world as well.
Yeah, I wondered if you would maybe drop Nigel's name in there as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I certainly would. Yeah, he's a little bit more savvy about what he does with the phone. So yeah.
He's preparing for his future. I think he's making a wee niche for himself. I can see him.
Yeah, he is.
I can see him at the Six Nations on the side of the pitch commentating with Jonathan Davis. It's going to be
easy.
It's going to be a car.
Yeah.
It'll be hilarious, but it'll be a car.
It will be. That will be it'll be worth tuning into the game just for
Absolutely.
that. Doesn't matter who's playing. It could be the two most dog shit teams.
Stop doing ref mics. They'll just do their mics. They'll do Nige mics instead or something like that for the game, so folk can listen to him.
I could actually see Nigel walking onto the game, onto the field mid-game, and just asking the referee about a particular decision or something like that.
What think you were doing there?
Yeah. All of a sudden, you're about to pack down a scrum, and you got Nigel tapping on your shoulder. Oh,
are you sure? Brilliant. All right, mate. We covered a little bit of this earlier on. You talked about something you did for a living. So I've got kettlebell here. Boom, 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 boom. Go on then. Who is, would you say then, in your expert opinion? I know they're all fit, but who's the fittest ref?
Oh, see, fitness is a tough one.
It's very much hard to manage. And the way I was looking at this, I remember a Total Rugby did a referee special, and all the World Rugby referees were together prior to, it might have been the 11 or the 15 World Cup, might have been 15 World Cup. And I think John, the Irish guy, Lacey, won the 40-metre sprint. He was the fastest over the 40 metres.
Yeah. Well, the Lace, I'm pretty sure was the fullback in his playing days, and he was
fullback wing across in Munster area. Yeah. And then Jacko Piper, I think, lasted longest on the yo-yo. So would they guys still be up there? Not John, obviously now he's retired, isn't he? But
yeah, JL is probably spending more time with his feet behind a desk these days.
I think he's coaching a lot of the Irish referees. I'm good friends with one or two of them, and he's doing a bit of work with them. Great guy.
JL's a fantastic bloke, absolutely fantastic bloke. I've got all the time in the world for him, mate. Yeah. He's done a lot for me, especially when I'm more sort of younger, coming into the international scene as well. Hell of a bloke. Pipes, for I guess you'd call him probably a little slightly elderly referee in our group now. He's probably one of the senior figures. He's certainly still up there. I certainly remember a mistake I made at my first Sansa camp. So I'd just come onto the scene, and Craig Jabir was still there at that stage, and he was.
His name's mentioned in sort of sin in Scotland. Yeah, you've got to watch saying that name out loud sometimes. Yeah, it's like Voldemort.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a V8 engine, so he could run. He could
just purr.
Yeah, so you can imagine me being a young, up and coming, fit, trying to be competitive. I'm like, right, I'm going to give you a go, and stupidly, I ended up beating him. So that put a huge target on my back, which didn't actually work out too well for me in the end, because now everyone was trying to chase me down. So, but no, I think, it's a tough one, because you've got guys who are genuinely fit, cardiovascularly fit, and can run. I guess I'll put myself in then I'm not quick. I'm not. Put me in a sprint next to, say, Rasta. Ben O'Keefe.
What about Rasta?
I'm not too sure how Rusty goes in a sprint, but Ben O'Keefe I know is very quick.
Yeah.
Pipes is very good, like with the agility. He's got very, very good feet. But then you look at someone like a Nick Berry, who's got muscles on top of muscles, muscle, you know. So there's different physiques, but I mean, everyone's got their different strengths in different areas, I guess. So I can't pinpoint one person and say they'd be the fittest. But I tell you what, I have seen a lot of lately, and that's a lot of people doing their workouts on social media, or Instagram, and posting what they've been doing, and so that's interesting. Obviously, there's a few people around that have a lot more time on their hands than others at the moment. So
absolutely,
that's interesting to see. So
I did see you doing a burpee one with your missus, I'm sure.
Oh, I did too. I've just absolutely thrown myself under the bus, haven't I?
Well, I had that in my back pocket, mate. I hope that's all right.
I was actually angling more towards the Carl Dixons and the Craig Evans and those guys, but
no,
thanks
mate,
for bringing that up.
There's no freedom here. It's all right, mate. It's all right. I'll buy you a red wine next time I see you.
Get back into the bag. What else is there, mate?
Right, furry dice. I'm going to roll the dice and see what number comes up.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, mate, it's a number 4. What does the number 4 mean to you? What's a number 4? 4. Think about the World Cup. Think about the World Cup final.
World Cup. Oh, yeah.
Oh, cheers, mate.
It's late
there. It's really late at night in New Zealand. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, hey, look, it is. The kids are down. I'm halfway through that glass of wine. I've been driving all day. So, no, hey, look, if you want to line it up with being there on the sideline for the Rugby World Cup, that was pretty phenomenal.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was a bizarre thing to be a part of for a couple of reasons. The first one was when I first started out as a referee. I got sent a questionnaire by a guy called Vinnie Munro, who is an ex-test referee from New Zealand. He was working for New Zealand Rugby as a coach, ID manager at the time. So looking for up-and-coming referees. Anyway, long story short, he sends out this survey, and one of the questions was, where do you see yourself 2019? And I was obviously doing the sums and worked out that the World Cup was going to be that year. And I thought, stuff it.
Why not?
Referee Rugby World Cup final in Japan. I thought this will make them stand up and have a giggle, because I was certainly giggling as I was writing it down. Yeah, it was just throwing caution into the wind. It was either going to be he's dreaming in the bin, or he obviously backs himself. So
his ambition.
It was a bit of a giggle. So. Obviously, no, I didn't referee it. We all know that. But to be there and be a part of it was something very, very special. It's hard to actually focus just down on that game, because the whole tournament itself, from start to finish, was such a monumentally special occasion. To have the family there, to have my parents come over as well. 8 weeks in Japan, it's testing. Back to the game though, and to be on the sideline and to be working as the number 4 sitting next to the South Africans as they realised that the final whistle had gone and then won it, to see, we talk about emotion like fans before, like to see the emotion in their faces, and it was something very, very special. There was a lot of this going on, just what's this little kid, what's this kid from small town Patea, New Zealand, doing here in a place like this. And I had a sore neck by the end of it, because I just spent so much time. It was unreal, phenomenal. Yeah.
But you must have had some sort of mentor that was a number 4 for you in the past, or something like that, who looked after you maybe somewhere.
A mentor, did you say?
Yeah, who did a number 4 job or something like that and really looked after you. I'm thinking of a cold, wet night in Scotland, mate.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, mate, it's my claim to fame.
Oh, that was brilliant, wasn't it? What were the two teams that were playing?
It was the Borders,
Borders,
against
that's right.
Caledonia Reds on a Wednesday or Thursday night in Stirling. It wasn't bad. We had the Wallace Monument up there, with Braveheart, freedom, and that sort of stuff. And the moon.
Hey, look, the scene was set, and there was not a breath of wind. It was such a still night, freezing, but it was cold. A still night.
Yeah, and then I was dressed up like a lunatic, wasn't I? I stuck out like a sore thumb.
I'm pretty sure you said to me, you can go and warm up out there, and you were sort of pointing to the other end of the field.
Yeah.
And when you turned back, I was sitting on top of the heater warming up. Yeah. That's what I was doing. It was bitterly cold. Running around with my hands in my pockets, didn't want to make a decision and bring them out into the open.
Yeah, you were just keeping the game flowing, weren't you? Yeah, jouer. Come on, let's play.
That's the one. But honestly, and I thank you for that, mate, because honestly, those are the games that I love. I shouldn't say I love the most, but I really enjoy getting the balance between, say, going and refereeing in a Murrayfield, and then coming home and, say, refereeing club rugby or a kids game on a frosty morning. Like that to me is awesome. And especially when no one's got a bloody clue who you are. You're just running out there just for the pure love of the game. Like that for me is awesome. I love that.
Fabulous. I remember.
So next time I'm coming your way, you make sure you line me up another one, please.
Don't you worry, mate. Yeah, just to let Murray know and whoever's listening to this, the four folk that tune into this every week, it was I think it was an autumn international that you were doing. Was it Scotland, maybe Argentina or something on the Saturday, and I think your legs were a bit tired from the journey and stuff, and you were looking for a bit of a run out, so we managed to get it was an annual event at the time. They played it. Ben O'Keefe did the one the year before down in Hoyk or something or Jedburgh, so almost like New Zealand, down in the borders of Scotland where the rugby is king and that sort of stuff as well. But this time it was hosted up just half an hour from my house, and who was it? I think it was maybe Dave Pearson saying, "All right, if this boy does this game, who is he? Yeah, that'll be fine. We'll look after him. He'll be fine, surely." But brilliant. No, and it was enjoyable for me to watch, and it was enjoyable for me to watch you deal with a couple of players who give a lot of young referees a hard time. The way I was warning you about Bruce, the number 8 for the Borders team, is notoriously hard on referees, and that's where I got because I was listening in obviously as number 4, and you're positive. Let's be positive, and it's something that we've tried to rally on to, like the young Murray, who's one of my young referees and that sort of stuff. Ask them to be positive. Let's make the game positive, and it's a much more enjoyable thing to watch. Then you don't have to blow your whistle as a referee, I think. But anyway, right, the last thing. Sorry, mate. Yeah, on you go.
Yeah, I was just about to say, and like when you actually, and it might be a case of a player rolling away at a breakdown where you can see he's in the wrong position, but he's actually fighting his backside off to try and get out of there. It's like,
and the ball's there, and the scum have to play it, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like I sometimes find myself, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just sometimes find myself without even thinking, going, "Yeah, good work," or "Thanks, mate," or just so that they know we actually appreciate the fact that they are trying to make a concerted effort to get out of there. Because I don't know, maybe it's just a part of me. I hate running around feeling as though I'm the one who's picking holes with all the stuff that's wrong. Bang, that's penalty offside. No, you can't be there. All that sort of stuff. So I guess trying to get that balance right.
Yeah. It's when to be anonymous sometimes as a referee is the skill sometimes. Anyway, right then. So next year, I think we spoke about this, and if it's not on, I'm coming to visit you. But it's my wife, the beautiful Mrs. Corgi, and I will be married. In fact, we're 29 years on Monday. So next year.
Oh, fantastic!
I know, mate. I know. I was a child bride. I was just really, really young. I was only about 40 or something like that. So we're talking about going to South Africa. Lions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking about doing a bit of safari, get a bit of braai going, watch some rugby. We're really looking forward to it. But as I said to you, if it's cancelled, then beware, mate. It's going to be a knock at your door next July. So you might want to go away for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Just let me know and I'll change the locks.
Sure. Yeah, that'll chestnut eye. But listen, I want to ask you, as an outsider certainly, and the Lions is super special to us. It's every 4 years for us, every 12 years for you guys down in New Zealand. Players from New Zealand only maybe get one chance to play the Lions. We get to see it every 4 years, and it's hugely passionate, the following that is with the Lions. You look at the last one in New Zealand, which was the drawn series, which it's questionable drawn series. I think it's fair to say we're not questioning any of the decisions, but it's a massive event and it generates some money. It's needing to go ahead. I think after this COVID, it's needing to go ahead to generate some money for South Africa, some money for rugby in general, and the interest back in it again. But I want to ask you in your two roles then, because this might be quite strange because you might be involved in it. Who do you think should play 9 then, with your history of halfback and your history of refereeing the Six Nations for the Lions?
Ooh.
And who do you think will get to referee them? Tough ones, easy, I know, but
Yeah. Throw some 9s names at me.
Right, you've got
because I'm a visual. I'm a visual. Yeah, I'm a visual person. Not great with the names.
France is now Bath, I think. You've got
Handy.
George Horn's name's been thrown about, the small Scottish guy. And Ali Price, who play at Scotland. I don't think there's as many from England. Conor Murray from Ireland, dark-headed scrum half. Maybe passes best now at the moment. Murray, would you want to throw any in?
John Cooney from Ireland.
Yeah, and Gareth.
Gareth Davis.
Gareth Davis from Wales.
Yeah.
What do you think, mate, of all of them? To play against South Africa as well, which is
I do enjoy the way Ali Price plays.
Yeah.
He's a very. He reminds me of like the TJ Perenara, Aaron Smith, like high tempo, busy player.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know, would he be kind of a good option to bring off the bench as an impact player? I don't know. I kind of tend to agree with you around Colin Murray. Like, perhaps he has passed his bit, like a hands down fantastic player.
Oh, man. And he's done his job for Ireland and the Lions, He's been a stalwart.
But maybe perhaps he has passed his best, or I don't know, perhaps he would go there as, say, a third choice halfback, as almost like a mentor.
Put that solidness into the midweek games and that.
That's a tough one. Then the guy who was from Wales.
You've got the two Welsh ones. You've got Rhys Webb and you've got Gareth Davis. Quite, and I think maybe suit the South African style. They're both quite fit. Got good work rates and that sort of stuff as well.
Not Thomas Williams, Corgi.
Thomas Williams as well, a good wee, great wee scrum half. I'm a Davis fan. I'm a Rhys Webb fan first and foremost, but I think Davis, his energy about the park, he reminds me of Faf de Klerk in the way he plays. He's out of that line and he's annoying defences. He does as much work in defence as he does in attack, which is bizarre for a halfback, and sort of stuff. So, But it'd be interesting to see, especially against the South Africans, who bring a size and a physicality that you probably can't compare to many other teams in the world. And what about refereeing then, mate? I'm sure you would love to be in the middle, one of them, certainly.
Oh, hey, look,
especially if I'm at the side, I'd maybe come down and give you a hand again. But after the greeting I got there now, maybe not. Maybe I'll leave you sink.
It was actually really strange because post the Rugby World Cup, the conversation actually drifted onto the Lions and who may be going there as referees.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of being partly sort of involved in the conversation we were having in the van, and when they started talking about that, I was like, I hadn't even thought of it, Like the World Cup had been so encompassing, and I guess there'd been all this hype up to it. I actually didn't even really want to think about rugby after that. I just wanted to have that moment. Natural, exactly. But hey, look, now that you think about it, and you talk about referees, absolutely, I'd love to be there. I guess I've always been the kind of, not always, I've learnt to be the kind of guy to set goals, but not be so focused on those goals that you miss what's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Because it's like the staircase to your goal, but you've got to work on each step at a time. If you try doing it in leaps and bounds, you're going to trip up and make a mess of it. So, I guess the very first thing for me would be just refereeing really well in Super Rugby. This competition coming up, and then if Test matches get back up and going again, or let's hope so, making the best of those opportunities. and then obviously trying to get myself in the best position to be a candidate to go. But like at the end of the day, like we all know those decisions are completely out of our hands, whether we are refereeing the house down or whether we are refereeing terribly at the time.
Decide, as they did in New Zealand, they may decide to mix it and go southern hemisphere. The French might come down, and the Australians, New Zealand might come up. I always feel sorry for yourself as a New Zealand ref. It's certainly in World Cups and that, the likelihood of you getting semi-finals and finals must be minimal. Because your team's going to be in there.
Well, traditionally,
a name like Williams, I could adopt you as Welsh, mate.
Yeah, well, traditionally that probably has been the case, mate. But I think the rugby world is certainly evening up, which is good. It's really, really healthy. Even the tier 2 teams are starting
you
to
watch out for
really
Brazil and that sort of stuff coming through. It's beautiful to watch their scrum. It's frightening, it's daunting.
And I guess that's the other exciting thing too about this whole COVID sort of situation that we're going through. It's really put the magnifying glass on rugby and as a whole and what we're doing. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of comes out of that. But back to your original question, mate, about the referees. Hey, look, I'd love to be there. I think the reality is, though, that especially looking at the way the World Cup went, I mean, the first couple of rounds were a little bit shaky. But after that, I think the guys did a really good job. So there's a lot of guys there that would be willing and able to put their hand up for a Lions tour and go and do a bloody good job.
Yeah, I think with a few boys stepping down as well. Nige must be towards the end. I think Wayne said he's stopping that as well. There's an opportunity for youngsters to come through. I'm sure you'll see young guys in New Zealand pop up and down. But anyway, right, guys, that was the bag. It wasn't too scary after all, Paul. You were sitting there going to me, what's in the bag? What's in the bag? Just calm.
That's why I decided to wear black, so you can't see me sweating here.
Disappear into the Listen, I'll hand you back to Murray. Take it on home, Murray.
Okay.
So, Paul, we'll just go into a bit more in depth about the Rugby World Cup in Japan. So it was a great experience for you, but what was the kind of schedule for you? What did you get up to when you were out there? Was it just non-stop refereeing, training, or did you get a lot of time off to go and experience Japan?
Yeah, it was quite bizarre because I guess coming from New Zealand, we're very, very lucky, and you guys would be the same. You'd know what it was like in terms of your space and your accessibility to things. Like we've since moved now, but the house that I was in, my gym was a 5-minute drive, my swimming pool was a 5-minute drive. Everything was really, the field I trained at was a 100-metre walk down my street. Everything that I needed was there when I needed it, So when we got to Japan, we were told this before we got to Japan, so it wasn't like a surprise or anything, but we had to get on a bus and travel for 40 minutes to get to a ground to train on. The gymnasium we had was in the hotel, which was actually quite good, really good actually. We had to walk probably 15, 20 minutes to go to a swimming pool. We had a team room which was based in the hotel as well. So it was particularly for me, I love to get out and run. And when you don't have a patch of green grass to go and just, at will, just go and run on whenever you want, it's actually quite debilitating. It's actually quite hard. So whenever you want to go and do something, you've actually got to book it in. There's got to be a certain number of people to justify going on a coach to the ground. It's 40 minutes there. You'll train for an hour and a half, and then it's 40 minutes back, depending on traffic, So just going to the park for a run around could take the whole day. So that was quite difficult. Food was a bit of a challenge. I grew up on a dairy farm, so I enjoy my steaks and my red meat and stuff like that. And the Kobe beef over there is great, by the way, and there's still plenty of that. But I sort of made a bit of a promise to myself that I was going to try some stuff while I was over there as well. So you got to do that. So I think it was the infamous quarterfinal, Wales, France. Jaco Piper was refereeing that game. You all remember that one. And myself and Nick Berry were on the sideline, and Marius Jonker was the TMO. And Marius had been to, I can't remember exactly the name of the town we were in. But anyway, Marius had been there earlier in the tournament, and he said, "Boys, I know this fantastic, my friend. I will not let you down. Fantastic restaurant." Oh, right, then we'll go along. So this is the night before the game, and he takes us to this place, and we sit down, and we just get a couple of entrees. And he said, "Oh, there's these lovely like meat skewers here, and there's different meats on them. It's beautiful, delicious." So anyway, we said, "Hey, look, you order for us, and just we'll eat whatever." So anyway, he orders. These things come back and turn up on the plate, and we're sort of looking at them and going, "Oh yeah, it kind of just looks like chicken, I think." And then he asked, "Would you like to get some beers or a drink or something like that?" Obviously not beers because it was the day before the game. But would you like a drink? So the menus come over, and opened up one of the menus, and it had a picture, so a diagram of what we were eating on the plate, and then it had a little description of what was actually on the skewer. And I immediately stopped chewing what was in my mouth and put it back on the plate, because I was reading pig's rectum.
Oh yeah.
Chicken uterus.
Yeah.
And a whole host of these other intestines from different animals, and I just quietly took it out of my mouth and got the menu, handed it over to Jaco, and said, "Mate, you may want to read this," while he's chewing down on his pig's rectum. So that was. But hey, look, we were there for the experience, and I mean that's where you get the stories on tour, stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. But in terms of the whole sort of setup, what a typical week would be, we would have sort of a preview review on a Monday. It'd be down to a training on the field on a Tuesday. And then we kind of had sort of like Wednesday, Thursday left to our own devices. Some guys chose to get out, jump on a bullet train and head out of town for a little bit. And then sort of when Friday rolled around again, we were getting back on bullet trains or planes to head all over the place. But I guess the real nice thing about it was the fact that we could all come back to a central point, and we had sort of a home base. So talking to the guys that have been to World Cups previously, it was a case of packing up everything, going to a different hotel, unpacking, then packing up again, different hotel. So they were constantly on the move. The beautiful thing about us in Japan was we could leave the majority of our stuff in our apartment, and then just take sort of a carry-on bag with us, go and do the game, stay overnight or a couple of nights, and then back again. So that was really cool. And getting around the place on bullet trains and stuff like that was pretty surreal as well. First time on a bullet train. Pretty cool.
And then what did you think of rugby in the tournament? It was a bit of a shock.
The rugby, sure. Yeah, there was some rugby there, wasn't there? It was good, wasn't it? I think too, and we were talking about tier 2 nations before, to see the likes of Japan do so well in their home tournament. I remember being in a little clothing store with my wife Vicky, and my parents were watching the kids, and my wife and I popped out. We were actually doing something for the kids, and Japan were playing. Who did they beat?
Scotland.
Scotland. Scotland. Of course,
you're horrible man. We'll edit this bit.
They were playing Scotland, and the guys at the cashier, we went up to the counter. The guys at the cashier were all huddled around this little phone, and I was trying to get served, and they just did not want to know me. They were so invested in this game, and I could hear sort of the Japanese commentator through their phone getting louder and louder, and these guys are jumping up and down. I'm like, surely not. Surely not.
They've done it again.
Yeah. So, but I mean, unfortunately it was Scotland. But I think the fact that Japan put on such a good show, not only on the field, but just in terms of the entire tournament. Was so good for them, so good for the game of rugby. The first time the World Cup's been taken to an Asian country. Just so many positives out of that tournament. Let's not talk about the All Blacks.
Or Scotland. next time, mate. Scotland All Blacks.
And then to round off the show, Paul, if there was one thing that you could change about rugby, whether it was to do with refereeing or just rugby in general, what would you change to make rugby better?
You left the easiest one to last, mate.
Thanks for the heads up. You know what I would do is I would love to see more players showing their hand at refereeing, and that's not to say I would love players to stop playing and go and referee. No. But I would love them to just put themselves in our shoes, because I know full well when I was a player and had no intention of refereeing, I was probably a little bit disrespectful, to be honest, to refereeing, and I'm a little bit ashamed about it, but I'm thankful now that I've learnt that, and I just think I would hate to see. I don't think it would, but I would really hate to see the game of rugby turn into the game of football, where the players just seem to have zero respect of officials. So what I would like to see is players showing their hand at refereeing. It may be like a kids' game on a Sunday morning or something like that. Just giving back in a way where they can actually change the stereotype around refereeing as well. By showing that, you know what, it is actually okay. It is actually all right to be a referee. Absolutely. It's not sort of this taboo thing that I don't know, that people sort of disrespect or don't look kindly on referees. And I would love to see, say, an Ali Price or someone of that nature, like down at their local. They may do that already, and forgive me if they do, but I would love to see them down there just contributing in that way, because I think it'd put a really positive light on referees and what we do.
It's tough because there's so many of them coach, a lot of them. And we had one at our club, Murray McCallum, and he came down, a bit of a scrum coach, set piece coach, and props for Edinburgh. And he's got a couple of Scotland caps under his belt now. But I think we've only got 2 professional teams in Scotland. You think to yourself, and we have quite a good university thing every Wednesday afternoon. If they were to take that pressure off, I still have to roll out on a Wednesday afternoon sometimes, and I'm not young anymore, mate. And university games, as you know, are probably a bit hastier than some of the games I'm normally involved in. I don't go outside the 15s, let's put it like that. And
that's what the touches are for, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, mate. Old Archie at 73-year-old waving his flag at me. But no, you think if they could take the pressure off the referees, allow them to do the bigger games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and do the midweek stuff. And I think the guys who do come from playing to referee and learn so much more about the game, appreciate much more about the game, and a bit more accuracy, and they can bring it back to their playing as well. A lot of them,
And even the time I've just spent with the Chiefs today, like, it's such a healthy relationship to build between the teams and the referee, because we've got just as much to learn from them as what they do from us around how we interpret laws and the way we think and the decisions we make. So, if there was much more collaboration between players and coaches and referees all working together, I think we'd be getting much better games, much better decisions.
It's amazing why these aren't small decisions. Amazing why these aren't small working groups that are giving Billy Beaumont and that all the advice. These are the guys that they're involved. They're involved in the game all the time, and they should be driving the way the game's played in the future. I think, but we've got, as you said, Blazers making decisions about, I don't like the way rugby's looking because the scrums are tough now. Scrums were always tough, I'm just becoming a fat knocker, mate. Sorry.
I was talking about old farts. It wasn't that long ago, actually. I was watching some archive rugby of Super Rugby maybe 10 years ago, And I was just out of interest watching the scrums, and I watched maybe 5 or 6 scrums in this game. And on average, how long do you think it took them to set a scrum between whistle for the infringement and then set? How long?
You're 15 seconds, about 15 seconds.
Bingo.
Yeah, compared to now, mate. Yeah, compared to now, it's ridiculous.
Unbelievable. 15 seconds. There was no water coming on. There was no one tying boot laces. There's no. I've got a bit of mud in my boot. I better get that out. Like, there was none of that going on. It was just bind up, bang, and they were good scrums too.
Yeah. I'll need to send you a video of when I played when it was only 3 points a try. The scrums then, mate. You have a look at them. We used to charge in for 10 metres apart. Whoop!
Is it in colour or black and white?
Mate, don't be ridiculous. big fat tellies and that sort of stuff. You change with the pliers, you know.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's the end of the show now, Paul. Thank you very much for your time and coming
really
on.
Appreciate it, mate.
Appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed it, mate.
Absolutely.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thanks, guys. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Anytime.
Cheers.